World Series is taking off. But today, I want to tell you about a different type of World Series, one that you may not have heard of, but is nonetheless important to both baseball history and Black history. This World Series happened in 1924 and featured two teams from something called the Negro Leagues, the Kansas City Monarchs and the Hilldale Daisies. And today, for this episode of Jerseys, we're going to go into the story of the first ever Negro League World Series. The Negro National League was founded 4 years before the first Colored World Series. At that time, there were 8 teams: Chicago American Giants, Chicago Giants, the Cuban Stars, the Dayton Marcos, Detroit Stars, Indianapolis ABCs, Kansas City Monarchs, and the St. Louis Giants. The Kansas City Monarchs were founded by a white businessman named J.L. Wilkinson in 1920, and they ended that same year with a 45-33 record. The next year, they will follow this up with a 54-41 record, making them one of the most dominant Negro League teams at that time. And this team featured future Hall of Famers like Bullet Rogan and Jose Menendez. The Hilldale Club was founded by Ed Bolden in 1910 as a boys' club in Darby, Pennsylvania. They officially began playing as an independent team in 1917 and remained as an independent team until 1923. At this point, they had a mixed record, starting with the losing season, but then having successful seasons in 1918 and 1921. At this time, they weren't full members of the Negro National League and played against other independent black teams like the Bacharach Giants and the Brooklyn Royal Giants, both of which would later join the Negro National League. Bolden founded the Eastern Colored League in 1923, and the Hilldale Club joined in that same year. This caused some tension, as the Hilldale Club were associate members of the Negro National League, and this was seen by Foster as another example of talent poaching that Bolden had been accused of in the past. In fact, Bolden and Foster had tension because of this issue as early as 1920. They would eventually come to settle their issues, and in 1924, agreed to host a best-of 9-game series, with the Hilldale Club going up against the Kansas City Monarchs. That same year, the Washington Senators, who are now the Minnesota Twins, played against the New York Giants, who became the San Francisco Giants in that year's World Series. The first game was held at National League Park in Philadelphia on October 3rd and was attended by more than 5,000 people. The Monarchs would win this game 6-2, with Rogan pitching an 8-hitter that kept Hilldale scoreless until the 9th inning. That next day, Hilldale came back with a vengeance, demolishing the Monarchs 11-0. Nip Winters played a crucial role in this blowout, shutting out the Monarchs on 4 singles. Game 3 was played in Maryland because Pennsylvania had laws against playing baseball games on Sunday. That game ended in a tie after 13 innings. The next game, still in Maryland, would go to Hilldale, who beat the Monarchs 4-3. Game 5, which was played in Kansas City, also went to Hilldale, in large part because of a huge home run by Judy Johnson in the 9th inning. Hilldale was winning the series 3-1 until Game 6, when Kansas City came back in the 8th inning. The game had been tied until the Monarchs scored a run. Game 7 also went to Kansas City. The game was tied at the end of the 9th, with Rogan hitting a home run to win the game in the 12th inning. The next game, Game 8, proved to be one of the most legendary games in Negro League history. The game was scoreless until Hilldale scored a run in the 6th inning and another one in the 7th inning. And it seemed like Hilldale was about to walk off with the win until the Monarchs scored 3 home runs in the 9th inning. The Monarchs were partially able to do this because of critical mistakes made by Hilldale manager Frank Warfield, who to shortstop Jake Stevens' injury some weeks before, and tried to get more offense out of his lineup. Warfield moved Judy Johnson, the third baseman, to shortstop. He then moved catcher shortstop Biz Mackey to third baseman, and then moved Luis Santop, an aging backup receiver, up to the main catcher position. With all these players out of their usual position, Kansas was able to pull off a major comeback in the 9th. But Hilldale wasn't done yet. They came back in the next game to tie the series 4-4, leading up to the big finale. Game 10, the final game of the series, became the battle of the pitchers. Jose Menendez, who was recovering from surgery, was convinced by Rube Foster to come and play this game, and went up against Script Lee. The game went scoreless until the bottom of the 8th inning, when Lee got tired and changed his usual pitching style. This allowed for Kansas to score 5 home runs off of him, leading them to win the series after Hilldale went out in the 9th inning. This series was an amazing display of talent between two of the best black baseball teams at the time, and was attended by a little more than 45,000 people in total. Kansas City would go on to win another World Series in 1942, while Hilldale came back in 1925 to win the Negro League World Series for themselves. All in all, this series featured 5 future members of the Baseball Hall of Fame: Biz Mackey, Judy Johnson, and Louis Santop for the Hilldale team, and Bullet Rogan and Jose Menendez for the Kansas City team.